The Battle of Camp Bastion. A series of reports by Anthony C. Hayford, a British Army veteran of Afghanistan and a witness to the Taliban's 2012 attack on Camp Bastion. Referencing the United States military investigation, Britain's Parliamentary Defence Committee's report, and other attributable sources. Part 1. The attack. At about 8 p.m. on Friday, the 14th of September 2012, 15 Taliban Special Forces attackers wearing U.S. military uniforms began their final approach to Bastion's airfield perimeter. They staged their attack on the northern outskirts of Nawabad village, and in the vicinity of the 600 metres of unsecured earthworks that ran from a public road in the valley besides the airfield right up to Bastion's defences. This is confirmed by the U.S. investigation, which assessed the attackers staged from one of the small villages which had sprung up close to the eastern perimeter of Camp Bastion, most likely Nawabad. My view of Nawabad village that summer was from Guard Tower 11, on the airfield's southeastern corner. I took this photo of Nawabad during my first guard duty on the 20th and 21st of April. The view included a 5-hectare poppy field just 200 metres from our defences, with about 24 people harvesting and processing opium in plain sight. During the initial tower briefing, we were told that Afghan security forces were harassing the farmers. If we saw any Afghan army or police even enter the valley, we were told to radio the guard commander so the quick reaction force could intervene. The poppy field wasn't mentioned, but it was implicit in the orders. We were protecting opium farmers from harassment by Afghan security forces. The British Parliamentary Report on the attack, published in 2014, quoted U.S. Major General Sturtevant of the 3rd Marine Air Wing. Interviewed as part of the U.S. investigation, he stated, "We literally had poppy growing right up against the perimeter fence. That was another thing that Major General Gurganis tried to take action on, but he wasn't able to accomplish that. It was because the Afghans had to do it. We weren't allowed to. The biggest external threat to the base came from there." The U.S. investigation also stated, "The individuals that we interviewed consistently expressed concern about the vulnerability and security threat posed by the villages and poppy fields increasingly encroaching on the eastern and southeastern perimeter of Camp Bastion." As the Chief of Joint Overseas Operations, it was British Lieutenant General David Capewell who gave evidence to the British inquiry. In person. He responded to the reported concerns of our American allies by characterising the decision to allow poppy cultivation close to the perimeter fence as a minor tactical error which had contributed to the enemy's success. But Lieutenant General Capewell still wasn't confessing the whole truth. He omitted the small detail that British military complicity in Afghan opium production was so big you could see it from space. These analysed satellite images show poppy fields by Camp Bastion continued to be irrigated with NATO's drainage water after the 2012 attack. They also show that the opium production by Bastion dropped significantly once NATO had left the base. It's therefore beyond doubt that NATO protected opium harvesting in Afghanistan. It's also beyond doubt that the opium production besides Camp Bastion was dependent on NATO's presence. When NATO stopped irrigating the poppy fields all but disappeared. The Defence Committee later summarised that the Ministry of Defence has been obstructive and unhelpful to us as we try to establish the facts surrounding the attack. U.S. Major Generals Sturtevant and Gurganis of the U.S. 3rd Marine Air Wing, despite identifying and attempting to mitigate the vulnerability of the base from the security threat posed by Nawabad village, were forced to retire over their failure to provide adequate security for their forces. They had placed their trust in the British Guard, and we failed them. The US 3rd Marine Air Wing suffered the greatest losses that night. A squadron of Harrier jump jets was decimated on the tarmac by explosive charges hand-placed by the Taliban. And 2 US Marines, Sergeant Atwell and Lieutenant Colonel Rabel, were both killed in action while defending the base. British Lieutenant General Capewell, despite the Defence Committee criticism and the significant US losses in the attack, remained as Chief of Joint Operations till 2015. He was also appointed a Knight Commander of the Order of the Bath in the Queen's 2014 New Year honours, for commanding global operations during a period of unprecedented volatility, it said. No British officer has faced any formal criticism or professional reproach for their criminality resulting in their failure to secure Camp Bastion. This open letter penned by the mother of Lieutenant Colonel Rabel, killed in action defending the base, was published in Britain on the 25th of October 2013. Also in October 2013, the British Parliament Defence Committee was taken from London to Afghanistan and the scene of the battle itself. This will have been a roller coaster of excitement for the MPs, and a staged managed operation and deception by the British military. If this parliamentary visit began after the publication of Mrs. Kim Rabel's open letter on the 25th of October, it suggests the inquiry was a knee-jerk reaction to deflect public criticism, and that the MP's visit to Afghanistan was a Machiavellian act by somebody. The sentiment of the headline to Mrs. Rabel's open letter still stands. Dodging blame is the only concern of UK military leaders. Back at Guard Tower 11 on the 7th of September 2012, and my view of the unsecured earthworks between our defences and the public road running parallel to the airfield. These photos show my view that day very clearly. These are Guard Towers 12 and 13, about 470 and 870 metres to my north. And this is where the unsecured earthworks meets the public road, which was a potholed, dusty and muddy track in reality, one that was prone to flooding too.